all the unique characters.
I do let him bang. Yeah, I'm saying? Like, yeah, I'm a legend, man. I'm building my legacy.
All the stories and perspectives featured weekly.
I wasn't fully committed to that choke, and I kind of sunk into it, started squeezing tighter, and I kind of heard him gurgle a little bit. I was like, oh.
And all the combat sports you could ask for in the best state in the U.S.
Like I said, Ohio versus the world. It's going to happen for sure. Watch out.
It'll be cool, man. I'm not worried about it. I'm going to show them why the Ohio MMA scene is, in my opinion, one of the best MMA scenes in the country.
This is Forged in OH.
I-O.
OH.
I-O.
OH.
I-O!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 79 of Forged in Ohio. My name is Jake Murren, and I'm the host of the podcast, and I've been looking forward to this episode for a while, waiting for this fighter to get back in the cage so I could get him back on the show. The 15-month layoff ended on May 18th, as Max Metzgar is now a 1-0 pro fighter following his win at Ohio Combat League 29. He joined me on episode 11, episode 30, and now for episode 79. Thanks for coming on the show for the third time, Max, and welcome back to Forged in Ohio.
Jay, thanks for having me, bro. Episode 79, huh? That's a lot of episodes.
Yeah, I can't believe it, man. Episode 79, and you were on episode 11 and 30 before video even existed on Forged in Ohio, man. It's incredible.
You're banging these things out, man. Glad to be back. It was a good introduction, man. Finally, right? Finally, 1-0.
Yeah, let's talk about it. There's no better way to start than the pro debut win at OCL 29 a few weeks ago. Of course, the biggest storyline coming in was the 15-month layoff. How good did it feel to get back in there and truly do what you love?
It felt great, man. You know, obviously, stay in the win column, get to perform in front of your friends and family. I fought in Columbus, Ohio, hometown, just down the street from where I train and where I work at. So it felt great. You know, it was great. Staying diligent, staying in the gym, staying away from all the distractions for 15 months. And then you get that moment where it all pays off and you're able to show off and show out in front of all your friends and family, man. So it felt great.
How many friends and family did you have there? Some people maybe making the trip from Chicago, and then of course your local hometown here in Columbus.
Yeah, yep. Man, I must have had half of the arena must have been there to support me, bro. Because when I walked out, it was loud. It was loud. When you watch back the pay-per-view, you can see the entire right half of the arena was just pretty much all there for me, man. So it was awesome. It was probably at least 60 people. I would probably say close to 60. Actually, I just cashed a check from Ohio Combat League, and it says on there, how many tickets I sold. I think it said 53 or 58 or something like that. But it was a good lot of people, especially considering I'm not from here. So been here for a while though. I've been here for a long time, so I guess it makes sense. I've been here ever since I graduated from school. Or I guess when I started going to school in 2015, so I've been here for almost 10 years now.
Does it feel like it's been 10 years since you've been a Buckeye?
I'm getting old, bro. Time's going by fast. It does not feel like it's been 10 years. But yeah, it's been 9 years now, so time's going by fast.
Selling that many tickets, how much energy does that give you and fuel when you're making that walk and hearing just how loud that arena is for you?
It's crazy, bro. You're trying to, me personally, I'm trying to stay calm, stay very poised, cool and collected. And, right before you walk into the cage, you get your Vaseline and you do your walkout. And I'm like 5 feet away from all my friends. You know what I mean? All my friends and family and my girlfriend and all our friends. And they're like right upon me. You know what I mean? They could probably smell me. So you're like, wow, like they're right there. I almost like didn't want to look at them. You know what I mean? I was like I'm doing my own thing right now. But yeah, I don't even know what you asked me.
All good, man. Were there extra emotions or maybe even pressure that you were feeling during fight week, given the layoff and it being your much anticipated, long awaited pro debut?
Extra pressure. Nah, I feel like everything has just fallen into place exactly when it was supposed to. I lean into thinking that way because I think that it empowers me, but it is how I was thinking about this. It was just like I said, doing everything you need to do for 15 months, and then the stars finally align when you've prepared for the moment. So why feel any added pressure? It's not like this was a surprise. I train every day for that moment to arrive. So when it finally does arrive, it just feels like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I don't put any extra pressure on myself. It's an MMA fight, and it's my life and it's my career. As much as everyone supports me, win, lose or draw, nobody really cares. You know what I mean? It's just me and my journey. So I don't put any extra pressure on myself. I just go out there and look to move freely, look to move fluidly, and pick my shots well. And everything else always falls into place. So
On social media, you wrote that at times it felt like the pro debut would never arrive. How difficult was the layoff? And I guess that ability to see the light at the end of the tunnel, which was May 18th, OCL 29.
it was tough, bro. Not gonna lie to you, man. It was tough. Uh, Bellator cards in the United States kept coming and going, and I was just staying in the gym, treating it like I was in camp the entire 15 months. Every time I would see a card coming up that was in the U.S., I would tell myself, all right, this is the one. 10 weeks away from that. Let's turn it up. Let's dial it in, and just doing that over and over, and every time not having to come through is definitely a little bit deflating. But um, this is my life. This is what I do. I'm always in the gym. I'm always looking to improve. And it's what I do. You know what I mean? I'm right back to it already. I just fought, and I'm right back to it. So it's not very hard for me to stay in the gym. I really love martial arts. I really love training. I almost don't feel right when I don't train. You know what I mean? If I don't train, it just feels like something's off. So it was definitely kind of disappointing and discouraging to continue to just have month after month go by. I'm 27 years old now. I would have liked to be at about 3 fights into my pro career by now, but um, I thought that I was leaps and bounds ahead of all the up and coming professionals 15 months ago. And after 15 months of just improving, two a days, 5 days a week for 15 months, now I feel like I'm way ahead of all these other guys that are down here on the up and coming amateur bubble of 3, 4 fights into your pro career. So I've taken it for what it is. The next time they put me in front of another professional, I'm sure that I'll feel the same way, that they're just not where I'm at. And I think that 15-month layoff ultimately is going to be a good thing because, like I said, I probably should be 3-0 by now, facing other opponents who are in that same bubble. But I'll probably continue to fight guys who are 1-0 or 2-0 for the next couple of fights. So I think ultimately it was a good thing.
Did your motivation ever waver during that time? I know you mentioned that you were in the gym constantly doing those 2 days, 5 days a week, but I've talked to fighters in the past where it's hard for them to have any motivation when they don't have that next fight booked or that next opponent lined up in front of them. It's hard for them to go to the gym and improve, but for you, it sounds like it wasn't that way.
Having a contract signed gives you that added motivation, for sure. There's no doubt about that. Having the contract signed and having that date coming up, it adds a level of intensity to your training, and it requires you to train, right? Because if you're I've never not trained when I had a fight coming up. But if you're thinking about skipping one here or there, and you got a fight coming up, if you got any kind of self accountability, or you're not gonna let that happen. But I don't know, man. I just love it. It's what I do. I love it. I love training. I love doing training by myself. I love training with my teammates. And I'm not getting ready for these guys on this scene. You know what I mean? My goals and my vision hold me accountable all the time, which is I'm getting ready for, Umar Nurmagomedov. You know what I mean? I'm getting ready for one of these guys from Dagestan that's been doing this their entire life. And I've been doing this my entire life. I started wrestling for one of the best wrestlers in the country when I was 9 years old. So I've been doing it my whole life, and it is a way of life for me. This is what I do. I train all the time. And like I said, I'm not getting ready for these guys here that are on this scene. I'm getting ready to fight the best guys in the world. So, that holds me accountable because I know that it's coming. I know that one of these days Bellator will get me in there, and I'll be fighting somebody from Brazil or from somewhere in the middle of the world, and they're gonna come and try to take everything that I've been working for, and I have to be ready for that. So, uh, you know, it's not hard for me to train. I like it, and I love it, and I know that it's what I need to be doing and what I should be doing. So I'm always doing it.
OCL 29 was a great card and unfortunately fell victim to some canceled bouts, especially for Ronin Training Center. Was it still nice to make the debut alongside teammates who at least were getting ready with you, and then guys like Ethan Shirk and Alexander Hazelwood who picked up wins that night as well?
Yeah, man, it was a good night for the gang. I had all those young bucks go out there and kick ass. I think they all got TKOs in the first round. And we've been beating up on those kids for years now. I fucking love those kids, man. Those kids are like my little brothers, man. I was really happy to see it go for them the way that it did. We're all backstage and they all got the pre-fight jitters and they're fucking, they were kind of rubbing off on me. They were making me laugh. I was like, you guys stay away from me, man. I know this is your first rodeo. You guys stay over there, okay? But it was awesome. Like you said, it was a great night for everybody, and I was super happy to see those guys get in the win column. And once you get a taste of it, you want to get right back in there and get that feeling again. So I'm sure that they're all going to be eager to get back in there. But yeah, it was a good night, man. It felt good to have it be gang activity. We were all there, and we all got the job done with the TKO. So it was a lot of fun.
You mentioned before the fight that your opponent, Dom Johns, actually called you out, which isn't common for you. Were you surprised when you first heard that he wanted to fight you?
I wasn't surprised. That dude's been fighting everybody tough his whole career. He's been fighting everybody from 185, 205, all the tough up and coming fighters as an amateur. But I was like, this guy's either really smart or he's really dumb. I was like one or the other. He's either got a master plan to beat me, and obviously that would bring some light to his name, or he has no idea what he's getting himself into. And I think it was probably right in the middle. He might have overestimated his abilities a little bit, but you got to shoot. You got to shoot for the big shot. You know what I mean? And that's the name of the game. You got to shoot for the big shot, and you got to have faith in yourself. And, he did. So props to him.
You won with some ground and pound in the second round. It was, of course, your first opportunity to use elbows along with other strikes now that you are a pro fighter. How good did it feel to implement elbows in that vicious ground and pound that you were using?
Man, it's a strange feeling taking your elbow and bouncing it off the soft tissue of somebody's head. It's almost like a hollow feeling. I was like, this is a little unsettling, but it only makes me more dangerous. You know what I mean? It makes me so much more dangerous to be able to elbow from the top position, and to throw knees to the head from standing in the open. My entire amateur career, I would get into these positions where I thought I could do so much more damage if I was able to throw elbows, and I'd be able to finish my opponents faster. Particularly in my last amateur fight against Graham Hunter, I was in full mount. I'm inside control, and I'm in these positions where I'm forced to throw punches from angles that's not ideal to hunt for submissions, when in reality I would probably just be looking for elbows. And that's what I said last fight was, man, I think I could have got him out of there if I was able to throw elbows. And I think this fight I probably landed, 30, probably 25, 30 clean elbows. And that's what ended up cutting him up and, causing enough damage to get the finish. So I was definitely happy to be able to implement those, because I knew I was like, this is going to make me way more dangerous when I can throw these elbows, because I get the good position on top regularly. But with the gloves in your hands, it's only so much damage you can do with the gloves in your hands. You know what I mean? The elbow is a solid piece of bone with no padding. So it was definitely good to be able to get comfortable throwing those. Because you don't throw them on your teammates in sparring. You don't want to be cutting people up during practice. You just kind of show them. But like I said, I think I landed about 30 of those elbows. So it was definitely it was good. It was good.
Having never thrown an elbow in my life, is the elbow a little sore after that? Like 30 landed elbows in a fight? Are you hurting a little bit, or is it perfectly fine?
No, it was. The next day, the main thing on my body, my back and my neck was kind of sore. You're picking people up and you're slamming them down. I was a little bit sore from that, but my elbow was sore as hell. My left elbow, like my tricep, was super sore. It was super sore for a couple days. Definitely. You don't land with the tip of the bone. You land a little bit higher up with your tricep, and it definitely was a little bit bruised up.
I know a lot of fighters are perfectionists and their own worst critics. How happy are you looking back at the performance?
Yeah, you're definitely right about that, bro. My last fight, I was very critical of my performance because I didn't get the finish, and I blamed it on not being able to throw the elbows. But I thought I performed very well. With the 15-month layoff, I was very happy with the performance. I was wondering how I would feel on the walk. I was wondering how I would feel in the octagon, if it was going to feel like it was foreign in any way, if it was going to, have a little bit of ring rust, if my timing was going to be off, if there was going to be some settling in process due to that layoff. And there wasn't. I felt very at home. I don't know if it was because, I was in my backyard fighting somebody who I knew wasn't on my level, or if it was just, I've continued to understand the mindset to stay calm and how to stay in that place. But it felt great. I felt very calm. I felt very composed, and I was seeing all the openings and flowing from one position to the next. Quick decisions in there. It's got to be quick decisions in there. And the more that the tighter that you get, and the more, kind of absorbed in the moment you get, you start having thoughts that get in the way of action. But I was very happy with the performance. I've been waiting to have an opportunity to strike a little bit more. He shot for a takedown in the first 10 seconds after I kicked him in the head with a high kick, with the roundhouse kick to the noggin. He shot immediately, and then there was another point in the fight where we broke from the grappling, and he shot again. But there were a few exchanges on the feet. I think just one exchange we had on the feet in the first couple of seconds, and I was very happy with how I moved. I always talk about to my teammates and just to my students. I have my own MMA team now, Mad Max's fight team. If anybody's watching this in Columbus, Ohio, and is thinking about being an amateur MMA fighter, but I always talk about just movement and being very, very focused and taking a angle on fighting that's movement based, where it is something that's hard to explain, but I was very happy with how I moved. I threw a hard left hand that landed flush, and I didn't lose my balance. That's what happens a lot of the time, because when you get in there and you have adrenaline moving, and you see people throw shots and they'll lose their base. You know what I mean? They'll commit so hard to the punch that they lose their balance. You'll see their foot positioning, they lose it. And I slapped that head kick up there, brought the leg right back, slammed the left hand home, brought it right back without losing any balance. And that's something that I've been working so hard on, is staying fluid, staying relaxed, staying sharp, and being able to deliver accurate, sharp, damaging strikes and immediately return back to a posture and a base where I can continue to move. Such a long answer to say I was happy with the performance. I thought it went well. I thought it went very well. Couldn't ask for anything else. Wouldn't draw up anything different. So happy with the performance for sure.
Yeah, when you describe how that fight played out, I'm just getting back, like flashbacks to a previous episode with Josh LaFly and Hawaiian Pereira, who I'm sure you're familiar with, because he talks about movement in his base and his flow state so often. It almost sounds like in this pro debut, you found that flow state, and maybe that's a good way of describing it, and how dangerous you are when you reach that state inside the cage.
For sure, bro. Josh Pereira is one of the best up and coming MMA fighters in the country right now. I'm super excited to see what comes next for him. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think Josh is 4-0 now. 4? Is it 3?
I think it might be 4. Yeah, I think it might be 4.
I think it's 4 as well. And every time I see him out there, and I've watched all of his fights, he's a buddy of mine. We trained together down at Immortal. He's a little bit smaller than me, so we're not able to, we're not able to train as hard as we'd like to, But I get a lot of great work in with him. And every time I watch him, I'm just so impressed with his striking. Every time I'm like, this kid is one of the best strikers I've seen that's not in the UFC. I think he's UFC level with the striking. But Josh understands the same thing that I'm talking about, which is this fluidity that is required in your movement to not lose your balance, and you have to stay in motion, because when you're staying in motion, you're staying in rhythm. And when you're staying in rhythm, you're hard to hit because you're moving, and your body kind of knows what to do as long as you stay in rhythm, right? If you stay in rhythm, you're like, it's like you're dancing, and that's something that Josh does so well that I also try to implement in my striking, is being rhythmic and allowing it to just kind of happen. The more that you think about it and the more that you try to control what's happening, the more it escapes you, the more you kind of surrender to the flow and allow yourself to just naturally see the shots and pick the shots in those split seconds. That's when things start to happen well.
Yeah, I find this talk so fascinating. Talking with Max Metzgar here on Forged in Ohio. Do you feel like you reminded everyone of who you were and got people back on track, back on the Max Metzgar hype train, if you will, at OCL 29?
Hell yeah, man. Motherfuckers down here forgot about me after 15 months, bro. 15 months with no action. You know how many times in the past 15 months someone has asked me, Max, when is your next fight? If I had $1 for every time, I would definitely have enough money to go have a nice dinner. I would. It's been tough, but I think I woke them up. I think I woke them up. It had a bunch of highlights, suplexes, busted them up real bad with the ground and pound. You didn't see any of that shit from my amateur career in that last fight where, no elbows, it limits the ground and pound. So yeah, man, I think I woke them up. They gave me the mic. I hit the crowd with the OH. I'm sure that you're a big fan of that. I don't know if you got to see that part of the fight or not, but I thought I did well on the mic afterwards. That's always a big part of the performance, is how you interact with the crowd, And like I said, I thought it went very well. I think I woke them up. I think I woke Bellator up. I can't say too much on this podcast, but I think I woke Bellator up. We're getting little drips in of some good news. So hopefully I'll be dropping some good news here soon.
Yeah, that's exciting to hear. And having talked to you twice on here before, I know that you're constantly thinking ahead to what's next. So I know you can't say too much, but do you know what is next, and when do you think you'll be making that second walk to the cage as a pro fighter?
I'd like to get another one in June 29th for Ohio Combat League again, but Bellator is going back to Chicago in October. So that's what we're looking towards. That's what we're looking towards, is October.
How much are you craving to have that big fight in your hometown of Chicago, like you were supposed to for your Bellator pro debut last June when your opponent dropped out due to injury?
It felt good to go in there and get the dub for Ohio Combat League, but letdown isn't the right word, but I've been preparing myself for the Bellator cage for almost, for a long time. Since I signed that contract, I've been preparing myself to be in the Bellator octagon, in a fucking stadium. You know what I mean? In a stadium. So, like I said, the last one wasn't a letdown, but it's not that moment that I've been getting ready for. It's not that moment that I've been getting ready for. But it's coming. It is coming, and we'll be ready when it arrives.
How often do you dream of that stage and competing on a big time card in Chicago?
All the time, man. Positive visualization and, clarity of goals, and just, understanding what you want and understanding what you're working towards. And that's what I'm working towards, man. I'm working towards getting a finish in Chicago for Bellator in the Wintrust Arena. And, I see it in my head all the time. I see it in my head all the time because I was there for the card that happened. The Pettis versus Pitbull card is the one that I was supposed to fight on. And I was in attendance. Although I wasn't able to fight, I was in attendance. I was in the building. So I got to soak in the atmosphere and see what the crowd is like and see what the inside of the stadium was like. So ever since then, I've just been putting myself back in that moment, but rather than being outside of the octagon looking in, being inside the octagon looking out. So that's definitely something that I think about often. It's the thing that I'm the most excited about right now. It's the next step is getting in there for Bellator. So I see it in my mind's eye often. I don't know if I think about it every day, but I definitely think about it often, especially when I'm doing my Aerodyne conditioning after I work out. My strength and conditioning coach has me on that fucking Aerodyne. I take myself to a place of seeing what's coming when I do those sprints. I put myself in those situations of, being in the second round and I need to finish, or I'm in the third round and we're in a close fight, and that's when I see those things in my head.
When you're there in Chicago watching a big time Bellator card, do you feel like you're missing out there as a spectator and not as a fighter being able to compete there in the cage?
Oh, 100%, dude. It was eating me up, bro. It was eating me up sitting there. I mean, I was ready to get out of my chair, and I mean, it was hard for me to stay still. I was ready to get out of the chair and hop in and fucking make a scene, be like, "You guys gotta give me a fight." But yeah, it was tough. It was very tough, especially knowing that I was supposed to be fighting on that night. The main event of the prelims. But like I said, man, I always trust that everything is working in my favor at all times. That is what I believe in. I continue to lean into that and do the best that I can with what I have, and it always works out in my favor. I have faith in all of this. I have faith in myself. I have faith in the plan that I feel. I have this ever since I started on this journey. I tell people it was a long process for me of um, becoming who I am and who I am becoming, and believing in myself and believing that I was doing something that was worth doing, and ultimately that I'm a part of God, and that being in alignment with what I'm supposed to be doing um, puts me in alignment with God and with the universe. And I don't second guess the things that happen to me. I got this vision. I was asking God. I was in a bad place, asking God, what do I do? You know what I mean? What do I have to give up to become more than I am now? What do I need to do to be able to love myself, to be able to feel like I'm doing something that's worthwhile? And, ruminating on those things for months and months and probably over a year of just trying to understand what should I do with my life, after graduating from college and even approaching the graduation from college. what am I gonna do? What can I do with my life that's worthwhile? What can I do that's gonna you know, give me the most bang for my buck with being a human being? Like, what am I gonna do with myself? And just continuing to answer that question and not settle for anything that didn't feel genuine to me. And that ultimately brought me to this. It ultimately brought me to fighting. And like I said, I don't second guess the plan. I do the best with what I have, and it continues to work out in my favor. And I continue to get signs from the universe that I'm doing the right thing. And even when those signs stop coming, I continue to do the right thing. And then they start to come again, so you have to have that level of self-belief and that level of faith. That's just what I think. If you don't have that, you're not going to beat me. You know what I mean? If you don't have that in your own journey, you ain't beating me. So that's where I'm at with it.
Man, I feel like that's some of the most relatable stuff ever said here on Forged in Ohio. Like myself personally, I'm a year or so removed from graduating college. I think we got similar majors in media, right? And trying to find out, hey, what do I want to do with my life that is worthwhile? So I think that's really empowering, and I'm sure it touched people listening or watching right now.
It's what a lot of us go through, man, right? A lot of us, kids in the Midwest that go to college, and just men in general, just that age where you're 18 to 20, or maybe for some people it even happens when you're younger, when if you're not going to college. But that rite of passage of becoming your own person, you know what I mean, getting away from your family, getting away from your parents, getting away from the community that you grew up in, and stepping out into the world and being like, who am I going to be, what am I going to do? And you see a lot of people that don't ultimately end up answering that question. And there's some people I don't even know if it's hard for me to say, like, if it doesn't occur to them. I don't really know if I believe that, but you see a lot of people settling for less. And it's easy to do today, I talk about it all the time. It's easy to settle for less today. Everything in our life is about more comfort. Everything is geared towards making us comfortable. And that's the antithesis of what we're talking about now. Settling and being comfortable. It's not what it's about. You know what I mean? It's about putting yourself out there and going on your life's journey and taking the risk to see, can I really do what my dreams are calling me to do? Can I really create a podcast? Can I really create a successful podcast? Can I really go be a professional MMA fighter? Whatever it is, you know what I mean? Whatever it is for each person. But something calls everybody, and when you turn away from that calling, not only are you doing yourself a disservice, but you're doing society a disservice, because everyone has something to offer to the greater collective. You know what I mean? Everyone has something to offer. And whenever you shy away from that voice, that feeling that's calling you, it's just not right. It's just not right. You don't want to do that. It's not right. All right, I'll get off my soapbox now. I'll get off my.
You're good, man. I love it. Have you ever thought about doing like motivational speaking, man? This is great. It's motivating me. It's showing me a light at the end of the tunnel, man. It's great stuff.
I was minoring in philosophy when I was in college, and that's when I really started to get deep into all this stuff. But I've always been kind of like this, you know what I mean? At times in my life when I was younger, it almost was like a problem. I was like, I remember telling people, I've always just kind of felt like I was different, man. Like, people used to make fun of me, and I had ADHD, and people used to say I was just such a spaz. But I remember, this is a lot to just drop. But I remember when I was a kid, there was like a year and a half span when I was like 6 or 7, 8 years old, where I used to just cry every night because I was thinking about how everybody that I love, and including myself, one day is gonna die. And I was like, I was just a kid, man. I was like 8 or 9 years old. I was like, what? I think back about that now, and I'm like, it almost doesn't even sound real. I'm like, why is that what was on my mind when I was such a young kid? But I've always had these huge questions. You know what I mean? Like, I would be in history class and we're learning about history, or I'm learning about algebra and math class, and I want to understand the keys to the universe. You know what I mean? I'm sitting there thinking about why is any of this happening in the first place? You know, what are we all doing here? And when I was in college, I'm taking these philosophy classes, and it's like I'm having like an existential crisis. You know what I mean? My buddies want to go out on the weekend and go to the bar to go drink. And I'm sitting here. This is no joke, bro. This is no joke. I told you I'm different. There's something wrong with me. I'm fucked up in the head. My friends don't call me Mad Max because of my temper. They call me Mad Max because I'm fucking nuts. But you know, I'm sitting there in college. Everyone wants to go out. I'm sitting there with a pen and a paper, revising the Big Bang Theory and comparing that to what, you know, Aquinas and St. Thomas, the philosopher, said, and trying to. And that's not a joke, bro. That's not a joke. You know, I was just on some weird, on some different shit. And I always felt like I was. And when I finally committed to fighting, I knew that that lens of viewing reality, what was going to make me a great fighter. And that's what gave me the confidence to really jump into this and commit to this was I do think I'm different. You know, I don't think I'm better than everybody. But I think I'm different, man. I think that I look at the world different, and I have a calling to do this. You know, I always tell people I want to open up my own gym one day and make an impact. But yeah, man, I don't know where I was going with that, but just you know, spouting out from the heart and from the head from my experiences.
Yeah, more great stuff from Max Metzgar, who's joining us here on Forged in Ohio. You've established such a strong brand for yourself, and I know you always have things going on in terms of being a personal trainer, commentator, and overall just growing that brand. You mentioned the Mad Max Fight Team. What all do you have going on that people listening or watching should be aware of?
Yeah, bro. You know, I have a personal training business called Fight for Your Fitness. Um, it's mainly in person right now in Columbus, Ohio, downtown. My location is downtown. And then I also have an MMA team called Mad Max's Fight Team. I got about 8 guys, 2 of which should be making their amateur debut June 29th for Ohio Combat League, hopefully. But I'm also doing online personal training. You know, that's something that I've tried to branch out to in the past couple months is the same thing that we're talking about, bro, is just, you know, I feel like I understand people and I get it for a lot of individuals that are called to more, but for whatever reason, you know, lack of self-belief, lack of resources, lack of education and knowledge on the next steps to take due to lack of mentorship. You know, that's one thing I always had in my life that I was very rich in and fortunate in was mentors, man. You know, my father was, you know, the main mentor in my life, you know, guiding me in the right direction. Cause, you know, I don't talk about it very often, but my dad did a lot when he was a young man, made a lot of mistakes. And, because of that, he probably was a little bit more strict than was, probably required when I was, you know, coming of age to be a young man myself. But, you know, having mentors to instill in you know, my wrestling coach, Mike Powell, one of the greatest mentors, you know, in around, for lack of a better word. But what did you ask me, bro?
Yeah, just everything that you got going on the side. You know, people should be aware of this Mad Max brand, bro.
Oh, fuck me. I just get going, bro. I just get rolling, man. But yeah, I got the personal training going on. I got the MMA fight team, and like I said, I'm trying to bring it online now to help people because it's all mental. You know what I mean? And when you don't have a mentor that it can explain these things to you about yourself, um, it's tough, you know. But when you do have a mentor who can explain these things to you because they've been there before, it makes all the difference in the world, no matter what you're trying to do. You know, if you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to gain muscle, you know, you want to relate to the opposite sex in a better way, whatever it is, bro. You know what I mean? You want to quit your day job so you can chase your dream. Most of what I do is obviously geared towards fitness, helping people look better and feel better. But it's all tied together. You know what I mean? When you don't like how you look and you're eating shitty and your brain isn't, you know, your body and your brain isn't getting the proper fuel that it needs. It's all chained together, you know. So the online personal training thing is something that I look forward to continuing to grow. Um, but I'm not a salesman. You know what I mean? That's the thing. I get these people on. I'm running advertisements on Instagram and on Facebook, and I got a whole bunch of people who want to do it. But you know, there's that resistance. You know what I mean? Like if they could do it by themselves, they would have did it already. But you're trying to sell them on letting you help them, And I'm not a salesman, man. You know what I mean? I'm like, you either want my help or you don't. You know what I mean? You're either going to pay me and we're going to do this damn thing or we're not. But those are the things that I have brewing. I got the personal training, I got my fight team, and I'm trying to bring it online. But more than anything, I'm just looking to continue to go in there and beat people's ass for cash. I think that's the brand. In this 15-month layoff, trying to build this business of being a trainer and all these things. I was kind of in like business mode. You know what I mean? Of course, I'm going to the gym twice a day, doing all these things, but so much of my attention and energy was having to be, given to being a personal trainer and acquiring new clients and, fulfilling my clients' needs better with better systems and taking personal training and nutrition classes to really make a legitimate business for myself so that I can have the economic freedom to train twice a day. Which I think has set me apart. I don't have a regular job. I train 2 times a day, every day, because I'm able to dictate my own schedule because I have my own business. But if that went under, I would have been in a horrible position. You know what I mean? So I had to really double down on being a businessman and being business minded. It's hard to explain. It's not like it brought me away from the MMA, but ultimately I would just love to just be, this is all that I do, this being the only thing. But at the same time, I think it keeps me kind of well-rounded. So, I'm not sure quite how I feel about it, honestly, but I'd like to be able to do a little bit more recovery than I do right now. Like if I didn't have to go to work to train my clients a little bit later on tonight, I probably would go to the sauna and probably, there'd probably be a couple more things I'd be able to get in, but yeah, I'm happy with what I got going on. I really do like being a personal trainer. I like making an impact and helping people. I've been with a lot of my clients for about a year, some of them even more, and they express their gratitude, and it just makes me feel really good. Seeing these people lose weight, get just feel more confident about themselves, and me being able to provide that for them. It really, really makes me happy. You know what I mean? It feels really good to be able to do that for somebody, and to make a living doing it was one of my dreams. So
Yeah, you also announced recently that a short documentary film about yourself will be released in early June. What can fans
yeah,
expect to
that's
see
right.
out of this, man?
Yeah, I'm excited about that, bro. Shout out to my guys at Styles Make Fights. That's the organization that's putting that together. But those guys are really talented, bro. They've been sending me little snippets of the video. They came to practice and they had like different light fixtures and these expensive cameras, but I don't want to spoil anything. I'm gonna let it drop and let everybody watch. But it's a lot of what I've talked about on here. The journey from going from being a college graduate and I joke around that I was an ex-criminal, but there was all types of shit that I was doing that I should have been doing. You know what I mean? Running around the west side of Chicago with me and my gang of buddies, just not doing shit that you should not, just not doing the right things. So there's a little bit of that in there, but it's mostly just my story, man, and a lot of the same things that we've talked about on here today.
Yeah, I was going to ask how much of your career it captures. Does it go all the way back to those early days in Chicago to now the pro debut? Does it come that far?
In terms of the videography that's in there, it's all been in the past year. But, we definitely talk about being in college and how I started wrestling when I was a kid. Me and my brother were getting bullied, and I felt like it was my job to protect us, and I couldn't do that. So it does go back to when I was a kid, but all the cinematography and all the video stuff is recent.
Is this something that you could see yourself adding to or doing again in the future when you get more fights and make it to the top of this sport and you have even more stories to tell?
100%, dude. Absolutely. 100%. It's the entertainment game. The business is about being entertaining. And, ever since my first fight, people have been telling me the same thing. They're like, kid, you got that thing, that it factor, whatever it is. They've been saying the same thing to me. And I try not to let it get to my head and think that I'm more than I am. At the end of the day, I'm just a a regular dude and a fighter who's fighting people in the cage. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm fucking making the cure for AIDS or something. It's not like I'm helping babies in Kenya. I'm not doing anything that special. But you know, I'm sure there will be more things in this story as it unfolds of my fighting career that you know should probably be documented on video. I'm sure that hopefully other people will be you know looking to help me share my story. If not them, you know, I'm hoping to continue to work with this same organization. I told you their name is Styles Make Fights. I'm hoping that they continue to, you know, kind of follow me throughout my career because, like I said, they've done a great job with the stuff that they showed me so far.
Yeah, good stuff, man. I'm looking forward to it. Last time you joined me on the show, you listed a set of goals that you had written down. I remember one of them was to become the 155-pound Bellator champ. So I'm curious how those goals have changed or if they're still the same from the last year or so.
Jake, nothing's changed. The goals are exactly the same. I always tell my buddies, you know, I got a couple friends that don't do MMA, and they're always trying to get me to go golfing. I'm like, bro, I can't go golfing yet. I wrote down on a piece of paper, I'm not going golfing until I got $1 million in the bank, and I'm standing on it. I need that Bellator strap. I need $1 million in the bank, and I need my own MMA gym. And I'm not stopping until I have those three things. You know, I get in trouble with my girlfriend because she's like, Max, you're too one-track minded. You know what I mean? Sometimes you got to chill. You know, can we go do a wine and sip, a paint and sip? Can we go do some of these couple activities? And I got to make time for it. You know, I love her. I love having fun. I love doing these things. But I'm fucking obsessed, bro. I'm sitting there trying to have a regular conversation with somebody, and I'm spacing out thinking about how sparring went yesterday, or I'm thinking about the instructional that I just got done watching on YouTube and how that can pair into something else that I've been working on. There's no slowing down for me, Jake. I'm doing this shit until I get that world title or until they take me out. You know, they're gonna have to take me out the game.
I love hearing it, and the path to achieving those goals started back up for you on May 18th, and I'm looking forward to following your career further as you achieve them. Before we wrap up, anything...
I'm pacing back and forth in my living room right now, man. When I start talking about this shit, I just can't help myself.
Amping me up too, bro. Before we wrap up, anything you want to shout out? Social media handles, sponsorships, anything like that? The floor is yours, man.
Yeah, you know, I always got to thank everyone that's been supporting me, man. You know, I got on the microphone and on my last fight, and I'm gonna thank the same people. You know, I got the Rising Stars T-shirt on. It's probably backwards right here. That's my boxing team. You know, Ryan Dickey, Rising Stars Boxing. They've taken great care of me, and you know, he has a phenomenal boxing program going with a bunch of up and coming, you know, very high level boxers. So shout out to Rising Stars. You know, shout out to Wellness Flow. My guy Sean Carew is a drip bar in Columbus, Ohio. You know, they do a lot to support me and keep me healthy. And shout out to Dylan Seeley, my strength and conditioning coach with Inferno Performance and Rehab. You know, I'm in there with that dude 2 days a week. And these people are taking care of me, man. They know that one day whenever I got the funds, I'm going to take care of them. But right now they're just helping me out because they see the vision and because they believe in me, man. So, you know, thank you to those people, and thank you to my girlfriend for dealing with my crazy ass. You know, I got off the microphone last time and she was like, you thanked everybody but me. You know, she was giving me the stink face about that, so I should probably name drop her on here too. And thanks to you, Jake, man. Thank you for giving us all a platform, bro. Same thing as last time, you know. You got all of these podcasts and you're giving all of us an opportunity to, you know, to tell our story and to let people get to know us. So shout out to Forged in Ohio too.
Of course, man. It's an honor, and I wouldn't rather do anything else. And I thank you, Max, for coming on the show for the third time. I don't take your time for granted or any fighter's time for granted. I know you're one of the best fighters to ever have joined me on the show. You have also given me some of the most passionate responses to the OHIO chant that I do with all guests on Forged in Ohio to get them out of here. So, OH! There we go. Thanks, Max. Thanks for the time. It's hard to describe how happy I was to see you back in there a few weeks ago, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's next in the journey of Mad Max Metzgar, bro.
Thank you, Jake. I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate that, man. You know, send something up for me. October in Chicago. You know, God willing, October in Chicago, we're setting the whole fucking city on fire. Let's go.
That was Mad Max Metzgar joining us for the third time on Forged in Ohio, and I truly think Max has the full package when it comes to MMA. I'm not only talking about those skills, of course he's extremely talented and well-rounded, but he also has the personality, character, and mic skills needed to gain a big following and become a big star in combat sports. I encourage you all to check out episodes 11 and 30 of Forged in Ohio as well to hear more from Mad Max Metzgar. And to support the show, you can always download episodes on all podcast platforms and subscribe and like the video on the Forged in Ohio YouTube channel. Really trying my best to grow that channel as much as I can. And if you want even more content from the show, and why wouldn't you, check us out on social media at Forged in Ohio on both Instagram and Facebook. Thank you all for watching or tuning in. I've been your host, Jake Murren, and this was Forged in Ohio.